Hello, Parkway Hills. I'm Jeff Davidson, and I'm here for our weekly reflection videos as part of our I Am series. This week, we're looking at Jesus' statement that I am the light of the world. And to help us consider this, Patricia Battle with the Choctaw United Methodist Mission has joined us. Patricia, thank you so much for taking time out of your day and joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. I certainly appreciate it.
So could you tell us a little bit, just to get us started, about what you do and the history of the organization that you work with?
Okay, certainly. I'm Patricia Battle. I serve as the administrator, executive director for the Choctaw Mission. I have been in this role for about 5 years, but I've had a history with the Choctaw people starting back in the mid-90s. I've been on staff since 2000. Who we are a caring community. We work with the Choctaw people, and just a little about our historical background. Actually, we goes back to around about 1824 when the Methodists first began having a presence with the Choctaw people. In 1827, a Methodist missionary was sent to work with the Choctaw people. From there, of course, during that time, there was the Trail of Tears, which was the Indian Removal Act of 1830. And during this time, the Choctaws was being moved to the Oklahoma area, and many of the Choctaws remained there in the Philadelphia, Neshoba County area, Scott County area, and in some of the surrounding counties. After the Trail of Tears, there was a dark period where little activity was being placed. It was in 1892 when the Methodists began to assume a presence with the Choctaw people, and they continued. But bringing you closer to home and closer to the time that we actually began to see some changes there among the Choctaw people, probably was back in the 1940s. It was during this time that a Choctaw minister came to work with the Choctaw people there in the Neshoba County area. During the time, they was working basically in two areas, and that was in what is now known as the Pearl River community, which is located in Neshoba County. And after which they began to expand into Leake County, which is the Redwater community. And most recently, we expanded into an area, the Boca Chetta community, which is northeast of Philadelphia. These are the three main areas that we work in with the Choctaw Mission. However, there is about 8 counties, 8 communities that comprise the tribal communities. So this brings us up to where we are today with the 3 churches. Up until 2014, the Choctaw Mission was comprised of the 3 churches. The 3 churches are located in the 3 communities that we service. And the 3 churches are Great Spirit in the Boca Chetta community, Green Hill in the Pearl River community, and John Memorial in Leake County and the Redwater community. So these 3 churches and some mission outreach began back in the around about 19, maybe 19, 40 and coming on up to where we are today. So what happened is that the Choctaws began to see some self-determination and also self-determination within the tribe as well as within the churches. At one time, the churches, the Green Hill and the John Memorial communities combined together, and they had around about 200 young people that worked together in the Sunday school. And from that, they ventured on out into working in the communities. They did different types of work there in the communities with the people. Today, we are at a different point. So that's a little about our history, where we are and how we have evolved over the years.
That is really interesting. Thanks for sharing that. I don't think I realized, I'm new to Mississippi, so I don't think I realized how deep and far back some of the roots of your program go. And I imagine that even though I may be new to the area, I'm probably not alone in not realizing how deep some of those roots are. So thank you again for sharing that with us.
Sure.
So this week, as a church, we've been talking about Jesus declaring that he is the light of the world. And obviously, 2020 has not been the year that a lot of us would have predicted or would have wanted to live through. But of course, we also believe that God's promised to stay the same throughout that. So we were curious, what are some ways that you have seen the light of Christ shining in the recent months in the Choctaw Mission?
Well, of course, we have been in a very dark place with the coronavirus. It has been very, very devastating for the Choctaw people. During May and June, we saw around 33 deaths. And we have a population, a tribal population of about 11,000 across the 8 counties. The area that was the hardest hit was the Pearl River community, which is the largest community of the Choctaw people. And it is also where we are located. The Choctaw Mission is located. We were not able to be open, and we are just now beginning to get a little semblance of opening up. But I think where I have seen the light of Christ, and I've seen the light of Christ throughout the years there at the Choctaw Mission. And we look at the Choctaw Mission and we often say the Choctaw Mission is on holy ground. And we see the face of God and the face of Jesus pretty much every time we are there on those grounds. I can tell you a story about where we have seen the face of God there at the Choctaw Mission. And it's basically through the young people who come to us for various services. We also see the face of God and the light of God in the people themselves because of how the people are. They are the Choctaw people are people who are very close knitted. They care for one another. They rejoice in all of the joys and the successes, but yet they moan and they grieve and go through tremendous pain when there is this dark period, especially during COVID. COVID is beginning through much hard work there with the tribe and through prayers all across the United States. and especially the areas that we work with, which is the Southeastern jurisdiction. We have received numerous people saying that they are praying for us. And with those prayers, I can say today that the Choctaw people are in a much better place. I think this month they've had only one death. I think they may have about 5 people who are hospitalized, maybe 30 active cases. And so God's presence is among and with the Choctaw people.
That is beautiful, and I'm really happy to hear that y'all's numbers are starting to turn around. We have been praying for y'all, and we will continue to be praying for y'all. Thank you again so much for sharing both the light and the dark. I don't think you can really acknowledge the light if you're not honest about the darkness. So thanks for being open and vulnerable about these hard times. But again, I'm just so happy to hear that there is progress being made. Thank you again for joining us, and please let us know if there's anything else we can do for you, okay?
Well, we certainly will, and I appreciate you having me, and I appreciate all that your church and all of the other churches that have joined in and is helping us, because we are a caring community. We are a caring organization, and we do look at and work with our young people, the children and youth, and we have a very presence with the elders there among us. So I appreciate you having me, and we just look forward to moving forward and getting back to some of the programs that we've had, but we are now in a process of rethinking, reimagining, and trying to determine what the Choctaw Mission is going to look like going forward. Because we know that we will not be able to have the programs that we've had in the past, when we've had 200 or 300 children that have come to us for various services and various activities and events. I would like to highlight before we close, one area that I think that is very significant and very important to us is our young people, who we call dream catchers. This is a group of young people from the Boca Chetta community, the Great Spirit United Methodist Church. And we call them the face of the Choctaw Mission. They have been all across the Southeastern jurisdiction. However, this year, they were not able to attend the Native American summer conferences at Lake Junaluska, nor were they able to go to a workshop in Tennessee. But they have performed at the Mississippi Conference. Last year, they was at the United Methodist Women's Luncheon. And we're just excited and proud of those young people, as they is our ambassadors, and they put a face to what we are trying to do. One other area that is very significant to us is what we call Operations Christmas Gift. And Operations Christmas Gift is where we provide Christmas toys, such things as bicycles, dolls, backpacks, just anything that the young people is asking for. And we've serviced around about 125 children and youth. And these children that we have worked with previously are children that are in social services. Some of the children were in foster care, but the majority of the children that we have worked with are children that is not full members of the tribe. So therefore they don't get all of the benefits that the tribe offers. So these are going forward. This is our future, and we certainly is going to continue to look at our three pillars, which is community outreach, nurture spiritual enrichment, and leadership development. So we look forward to working and continuing, as I indicated, how we are going to service and work with the Choctaw community and especially children and youth.
That is beautiful. And in that, I can hear the light of Christ being shown by God himself in the presence, and then your community reflecting that light. And that, yeah, I don't really have anything more eloquent to add to that than that's just beautiful. And I'm thankful that you took the time to share that. So again, I'm glad that you tacked that on at the end. And so thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking this time to be with us today. Parkway Hills, please stay tuned for some time to reflect and some questions to help guide your reflection at the end. And we will see you Sunday for online worship as we continue our I Am series.